Recently, Pixar announced that they're doing a big turnaround for their brand, and they're going to move forward focusing on clear mass appeal with their films and less focus on directors with autobiographical tales like Luca and Turning Red. The studio's movies should be less a pursuit of any director's catharsis and instead speak to a commonality of experience. And Disney is banking on sequels to get Pixar back on track after they've had multiple failures. And their sequels have been their most successful projects, unfortunately. They recently talked about bringing back Finding Nemo, bringing back The Incredibles, doing more Toy Story movies.
All the Toy Story movies are among their most successful films that they've ever done.
Is like their exact game plan. It'll be 3 movies every 2 years, and every other one will be a sequel or spin-off, while the rest are standalone concepts or potential seeds for new franchises. This is a balance that should be able to keep everyone happy. But everyone was not happy. Everyone threw a gigantic shit fit.
But a lot of people liked Luca, so that's kind of an aberration to me because a lot of people seem to really enjoy Luca. But
the people who watched it seemed to like it, but it wasn't enough people. So it didn't make any money for Disney.
What I find interesting about the concept is like, first of all, director's autobiographical tales. Wouldn't that mean it has to be the writer-director's autobiographical tales because the writer's the one telling the initial story?
I think they're just going for the colloquial
and from that
reference.
What I think the problem is not enough time spent editing your scripts, meaning that a writer can start with an autobiographical story that with strong editing, and I do mean strong, meaning like there have to be cuts, there has to be adjustments made, you can make a story more universally appealing through script rewrites and more people being given a chance to read it and say, look, I don't understand what this means.
I think what they're trying to say is movies for kids shouldn't have a bunch of adult baggage.
Yeah.
Like, they pointed out Luca and Turning Red because I heard Luca is an allegory for gay youths who are in the closet because it features 2 young boys who are secretly sea monsters, which apparently is an allegory for being gay. Okay. And then Turning Red, obviously, is a story about a young girl getting her period for the first time, which just has a bunch of baggage related to like destigmatizing women's menstrual symptoms or whatever. Like that is just not
period movies.
It is not for kids content.
I think they
make
just
it
don't know
fun.
that's not what a period piece is. That's something completely different.
They weren't taught that in film school. But it's just like a bunch of adults trying to tell kids what they should find entertaining. And one person replied, "There's something very disgusting about telling directors, writers, and artists that their experiences and inspirations aren't appealing enough for the masses."
They're not.
How is that disgusting?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Like, I just cannot compute why your story matters when we're trying to sell the story.
Yeah, okay,
you know?
So there was something that I mentioned in like a tweet that I had yesterday where I was talking about okay, so the landscape in Hollywood is different. Movie theaters are no longer a communal experience that they used to be. What was once a small amount of media being created for a large number of people has been fractured into endless new shows and media being made for niche sectors of audience. And that's the problem, right? Is that you can't make things for niche sectors of audience, nor can you make them just to get something off your chest when it costs $100 million or $200 million to make. That is one thing. If you want to go and you want to make a film, by yourself, you want to make a short film that's all about your personal life experience.
It's all about your period.
That's fine.
And your tampons.
That's fine. But it's not the job of a $1 billion studio to foot a $200 million bill to help you reach some type of personal catharsis if that personal catharsis doesn't bring in the money needed to pay back what it costs to make.
And importantly, if that personal catharsis is not appropriate for children.
And that's on the executive. That's not even on the director. That's on the executives for not nixing it when they needed to.
Another one said, so more of a focus on making movies marketable instead of good.
Yes!
Sad to see. Okay, marketable means good because marketable means the vast majority of people will enjoy it, meaning the consensus is that it's good.
Yes.
Okay. Another one said, mass appeal isn't turning red a metaphor about girls going through their period and their bodies changing. I thought movies directed at girls and women are considered mass appeal. Maybe what they meant to say was no more Asian movies because the protagonist is Asian. Another one said, okay, so focusing on films for white people.
I knew that.
Got it.
I knew that one was coming.
Another one said, Turning Red was about a young girl becoming an adolescent and getting her period. Nearly 50% of the population will experience that. You can't get more common than that. It's not for kids' entertainment to talk about our bodily fluids and things of that nature.
And so
it's just, that's not a fun kids movie. That's, once again, an adult story that they're retelling as an adult from their childhood to get things off their chest when they really need to go to therapy or something.
One of the things that they pushed out as an example of the opposite was Lightyear failing. Which is supposedly have mass appeal.
Yeah, they said Lightyear bombed, and that was the exact mass appeal they're seeking, a spin-off of a massive IP based on their most popular character. Yet it didn't generate returns. Why is that not being talked about?
I think Tim Allen not being a part of it is a huge reason for that. I think the fact that nobody understood that the movie wasn't the same, was a different character.
Right.
It was based on the Lightyear of Toy Story was the toy in which the real person is based on.
It's deceptive marketing.
Yes.
So people went to it, didn't like it, and didn't tell other people to go see it.
Correct. And without good word of mouth, you don't get people back to the box office the second weekend in a row. The best way a movie can make its money isn't just a strong opening weekend. It needs low drops. Thank you, guys. It needs low financial drops from week to week, which is only attainable through good word of mouth and people being willing to see movies more than once.
Thank you.
Look, you can complain all you want about Lightyear failing, but Toy Story 4 made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, they said that Toy Story is actually about a white middle class boy who's I only assume is straight and cishet.
Yes.
As well. So that doesn't that's not relatable enough to the diverse audience.
You cannot I think one of the problems for most of these industries is the ridiculously large amount of output that goes on now, meaning that you have spread yourselves too thin across too many markets. Back in the day, it really was an illusion. Like, there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. So everyone had to communally go and see these things. First of all, there wasn't the internet to compete with. There wasn't social media. You didn't have streamers. You didn't have Mr. Beast. You didn't have Kai Cenat taking away the attention from your movies. Sure. You just didn't. You had sports for adults, but movies and sports are different. They're not really the same thing. Plenty of people who like sports like movies too, but a lot of people would consider streamers or social media to be the same type of entertainment as going to see movies, which is just no longer the sell that it used to be. So everyone's attention is divided, which means you need to make these stories even more universally appealing in whatever way you can.
I think that the real issue Pixar has run into is that they're hiring a bunch of millennial narcissists who think that kids' entertainment is their playground to, first of all, push their own political viewpoints, but also this weird impulse toward like self-centered catharsis and self-disclosure because they still haven't accepted that they're adults yet. And I mean, I've noticed the same thing in Bluey, where it's like people are constantly talking about how Bluey is for adults now. Yeah. And it's like, can kids have anything that's for kids and not also like all of this stupid therapeutic?
Miss Rachel says no.
Yeah, it's like Miss Rachel all over again.
I also
there's no like space for kids entertainment now.
I also was thinking about, you're right, and I was thinking about something the other day about the concept of representation. What I find interesting about it is that's an idea that works more for an actor than it does for a consumer. Meaning, like, a lot of times an actor will need to find something in a character they can identify with to latch onto it and allow them to give an authentic portrayal, to find some way to connect to the character, even if everything else about, like, Sebastian Stan likely has to find something about playing Donald Trump that he can connect with.
Yeah.
Even if it's like his own saying, like, look, in my worst moments, I'm vain. This isn't my interpretation of Trump or whatever, though I do think he is vain. But the point is, what I'm saying is, like, he has to think, like, look, I'm vain at times. This script calls for a vain character. That concept of, like, seeing yourself in a character makes far more sense from an actor's perspective than it does from a consumer's perspective. Maybe it's not true. I can only speak to personal experience, but my life is pretty boring. I don't want to see myself in characters. If anything, I want to see something so far outside the realm of what I've lived that it's interesting. And I feel like writing would want to be the same way. I guess maybe today you could say the writers just aren't as creative as they used to be, so they have to write about...
They're genuinely not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's mainly millennials who are taking over these industries, and they're just not doing a good job of writing content that's made for children if they are still mentally children.
Yeah.
They are literally just stuck in Arrested Development, can't accept that they're adults, and they're making things for themselves. It's gross. It gives me like a weird feeling to watch something that's supposedly marketed toward children, but was made for adults. You know? It's a weird mismatch that keeps happening.
We'll have to wait and see whether Pixar turns it around. I'll be honest, most of the time when I see these types of claims, I think they ring hollow. Just like Disney saying, like, we're going to focus on quality rather than quantity. What does that even mean?
It never happens.
No, it doesn't. So we'll wait and see.
180 million on the Acolyte. Yeah, I don't think so.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.